at only one thing. This is not a defensive preparation. This is preparation for a military offensive. And this may not be limited to a ground misadventure this time round. What China appears to be planning for in the near imminent future is an air battle over the icy mountains of the Himalayas. China is preparing for war because nothing else explains the furious pace of military and dual installations that have sprung up in Tibet and Xinjiang. Open source intelligence experts have pointed out that the new runways, ammunition storage facilities and other auxiliary infrastructure that has sprung up in just the last 5 years to increase sortie rates and to reduce congestion. These satellite images from Planet Labs will give you a closer glimpse of what China's air bases along India's border look like at the present moment. This is the Lhasa Air Base, the Hotan Air Base and the Engari Gunsa Air Base. Why does China need to boost its offensive air power here along the border with India? The Hotan Air Base is where China has stationed its J-11 and J-20 attack fighter jets, its electronic warfare aircraft and airborne and early warning and control aircraft and drones. The Lhasa Air Base is where China houses its Z-20 attack helicopters. So what is China plotting? In 1962, India and China had fought a war, a ground assault in which China tried to make an incursion into India before withdrawing back. What is interesting to note is that air power was not used in 1962. For decades since the 1962 war, the India-China border had remained largely quiet. But things have changed since 2017, when the Chinese bid for a land grab at Doklam at the tri-junction between India, Bhutan and China was thwarted by New Delhi as part of Operation Juniper. Some very dramatic images of the Indian and the Chinese soldiers exchanging blows with each other went viral. A border which had remained quiet for decades had begun to stir with tension. In May 2020, the Indian and the Chinese troops clashed at the Galwan Valley. Reason? This was yet another attempt at trying to alter the status quo at the line of actual control. 20 Indian soldiers were killed in mortal hand-to-hand combat. The Chinese soldiers used steel rods wrapped with barbed wire to inflict maximum damage. And though China did not immediately release its casualty count, it later emerged that at least about 35 to 45 Chinese soldiers had ended up losing their lives at Galwan. Another attempt of China's age-old practice of salami slicing had been challenged and thwarted. On the 7th of September 2020, for the first time in over 45 years, shots were fired along the line of actual control. And since then, despite the fact that there have been several rounds of Corps Commander level talks to resolve the border standoff, China has tried a land grab at every possible opportunity, only to be beaten back furiously, as this video from September 2021 demonstrates. So that brings us back to our earlier question. Why is China boosting its air offensive capabilities along India's border? Fact is, repeated attempts by the Chinese soldiers on the ground to alter the status quo have ended in embarrassing failures. India of 2023 is not the India of 1962. The Chinese ground forces have proven ineffectual in making their Indian counterparts budge. So China, it appears, is now itching for an air war over the icy peaks of the Himalayas.